You know that moment when your dog puts their paw on you and you say, "Oh," and pat them and everyone moves on? What if we told you that in that 5-second exchange, your dog just said something incredibly specific to you, and your response, without you realizing it, either deepened your bond or quietly taught them to stop trying? That exchange matters more than it looks, and what they are actually saying will change the way you feel every single time that paw finds you. Reason 6. It was never just a habit. Most people file this behavior away as something their dog simply does. A quirk, a reflex, maybe a trained response to getting attention in the past. But the science tells a completely different story, and it is one worth hearing. Researchers at the University of Lincoln cataloged over 1,000 gesture events across dozens of dogs and found that paw touching meets every criterion for deliberate, intentional communication. It is directed at a specific person, performed only when that person is available and attentive, and adjusted in real time depending on whether a response comes back. Your dog has a full repertoire of ways to reach you. They can bark, whine, pace, nudge you with their nose, or deploy that particular unblinking stare that somehow penetrates every level of distraction. And out of everything available to them, they chose the quietest option. Animal behaviorists say that choice alone carries meaning before the message even lands. It means your dog looked at you, assessed whether you were the kind of person who notices small things, and decided you were. That is not a habit. That is a decision made specifically about you, in real time, every single time. Once you accept that the paw is intentional, the next thing to understand is that location is not random either, and this is the detail almost every owner overlooks. Reason 5. Where they touch you is the real message. When the paw lands on your arm or hand, behavioral scientists describe that as the most direct and immediate version of the gesture. A gentle tap that translates to something needed right now, your attention, your presence, just the reassurance that you see them. When the paw moves to your leg, something subtler is usually happening. Research measuring heart rate variability between bonded dogs and their owners has shown that physical proximity during moments of stress genuinely regulates a dog's autonomic nervous system, meaning your calm body is biologically stabilizing theirs from the outside in. Dogs seek leg contact most often during uncertain moments, when there is tension in the air, unfamiliar people nearby, or a storm rolling in outside. They are not asking for anything in those moments. They are anchoring themselves to you. And then there is the face, which is the rarest placement of all and the most significant. If your dog has ever rested their paw gently against your cheek or chin, that is the most open and unguarded thing they know how to do. Your face holds everything they have ever read about you. A dog who reaches for it has decided there is no part of you they need to be careful around. And that kind of trust is worth sitting with for a moment. To really understand where this behavior comes from, you have to travel back to the very beginning of your dog's life, long before you were part of the picture. Reason 4. They learned this before they could see. Newborn puppies enter the world completely helpless, blind, deaf, and entirely dependent on warmth, scent, and physical contact to survive. One of the first motor patterns they develop is pressing their front paws rhythmically against their mother while nursing, a motion that stimulates milk flow and simultaneously triggers a surge of oxytocin in both the puppy and the mother. Researchers studying early canine neurodevelopment describe this pressing behavior as one of the most neurologically formative experiences a dog will ever have, because it happens during a critical window when the brain is literally building its emotional foundations. The association formed in those early weeks goes deep. Pressing a paw against something warm and safe means comfort, belonging, and being held. The nursing need fades as they grow. The emotional imprint never does. Studies on adult attachment in dogs show that the bonding system formed in those first weeks transfers onto human caregivers over time, with dogs forming what researchers formally classify as secure attachment relationships with their primary humans. Relationships that mirror the mother and infant bond in measurable psychological ways. So when your dog reaches for you in a quiet moment with nothing to ask for, they are not performing a learned trick. They are running one of the oldest and most honest programs their brain knows, and they have placed you at the center of it. Then comes the part that tends to make people go quiet, because it means your dog may know how you are feeling before you have fully admitted it to yourself. Reason 3. They feel you, shifting before you know it yourself. A landmark study by researchers at Queen's University Belfast tested whether dogs could identify stress in a person using only their breath and sweat, collected from the same individual just 4 minutes apart. The results were extraordinary. Across hundreds of trials, the dogs achieved a combined accuracy rate of nearly 94%, and they did this with no visual cues, no behavioral signals, nothing except scent. The humans in the study showed no outward signs of distress at all. The dogs knew anyway. Separate work from the field of comparative cognition has consistently shown that dogs outperform chimpanzees at reading human social and emotional signals, which is remarkable when you consider that chimpanzees share 98% of our DNA. Beyond scent, dogs also track microshifts in your body language, the subtle forward lean before you stand, the change in your breathing pattern when something is weighing on you, the tension that settles into your posture before you have consciously named what you are feeling. So when your dog places their paw on you during a calm evening, when nothing appears to be wrong, the most honest explanation is not boredom or habit. Something was different about you. Something quiet. Something unspoken. They felt it before you did, and the paw was the only way they had to reach across that distance and let you know you were not alone in it. Now there is another reason that carries the most weight in terms of what owners actually do wrong, and it is happening in living rooms all over the world every single day. Reason 2. When they do this, please do not pull away. When your dog reaches for you gently and you do not respond, and then they try again a little more insistently, and you push the paw away because now it reads as demanding or annoying, you have just misread the entire exchange, and your dog registered that misread completely. Animal behaviorists who study canine communication describe this escalation pattern as one of the most consequential misunderstandings in the human and dog relationship. The dog tried the quiet version first, the low pressure, barely there signal, and it went unnoticed. So they tried harder, not because something changed in their mood or their manners, but because the message still needed to get through and they had not given up on you yet. Research on how dogs learn from consequences shows that when communicative attempts are consistently dismissed, dogs move in one of 2 directions. They either escalate toward louder, harder to ignore signals, or they gradually stop trying altogether, withdrawing into a state of passivity that behaviorists associate with a loss of felt connection. The frantic, repetitive pawing that gets labeled pushy or bad-mannered is almost always the second or third attempt from a dog who tried gently first and watched it disappear. So, before the paw gets pushed away, stop. Put down what you are holding. Make real eye contact. Give them 10 genuine seconds of presence. Because what they were trying to communicate almost always becomes clear the moment you actually stop and look. And finally, the one that matters most. The one that is easiest to miss precisely because it makes no noise and asks for nothing. Reason 1. The rarest thing a dog can say. It is the moment your dog places their paw on you and then goes completely still. No pressure, no shifting, no expectation underneath it, just a paw resting quietly against your skin, with nothing attached to it except the fact that they chose to be there. To understand why this is the most significant version of everything we have been talking about, you have to understand something about how a dog is physically built. Every instinct in their body is oriented toward readiness. 4 paws on the ground means they can react, move, and protect themselves in an instant. Lifting one paw and resting it on someone means voluntarily giving up some of that readiness, making themselves slightly less able to respond quickly and slightly more open. In any wild context, that would represent a real vulnerability. Research on canine attachment, using frameworks originally developed to study human-infant bonding, has found that approximately 61% of pet dogs demonstrate what scientists call secure attachment, meaning they feel genuinely safe enough in the presence of their primary human to lower their defenses completely. The calm, still paw is the physical expression of that internal state. It is not a request, and it is not a response to anything you did in that moment. It is your dog's nervous system making a decision so quiet and so complete that it overrides every survival instinct they carry, settling into the certainty that right here, beside this specific person, there is nothing left to be ready for. If you have ever felt a paw rest against you with that particular quality of stillness and felt something shift inside you in response, you were right to feel it. That moment was real. That was your dog telling you, in the only language they have, that you are the place where they do not have to be afraid anymore. Now that you know what that paw actually means, which one hit you the hardest? Tell us in the comments and tell us if you are looking at your dog a little differently right now.